Martin Scorsese is widely regarded as one of the greatest directors in movie history. From Taxi Driver to The Wolf of Wall Street, his films reshaped American cinema. But behind the camera, Scorsese's perfectionism and a famously combustible temperament often clashed with anyone who couldn't meet his exacting standards. He built iconic creative bonds with Robert De Niro and Leonardo DiCaprio. Yet not every actor earned his trust or his patience. Some came off too polished, others too unpredictable, and a few crossed the line by questioning his vision on set. As Scorsese himself has said, cinema is a matter of what's in the frame and what's out. For 6 actors, what stayed out of the frame was his approval, and the price was heavier than they imagined. Worse, Mark Wahlberg. Few director-actor pairings are as oddly tense and as ironically successful as Scorsese and Mark Wahlberg on The Departed. 2006. What began as a reluctant team-up turned into a tug-of-war over how one character should live on screen. From day one, Wahlberg wasn't convinced. While most actors would leap at a Scorsese role, he later admitted, "Marty called me up and he was so excited about making this movie together. I said, I'm not doing the movie." Even when he signed on, he wasn't thrilled. He didn't love the script and didn't feel it fit him. Scorsese, though, saw something specific. The athletic street-smart charge he wanted for Sergeant Dignam, but he fought me on the character's interior life. Scorsese later told the Directors Guild. The clash was immediate. Wahlberg wanted to improvise to bring a sharp Boston edge. Scorsese wanted control and restraint. He kept saying, less, less. When everything about this guy screamed more, a crew member recalled. The tension spiked in those profanity-laced office scenes. Takes stretched on as Scorsese insisted on precision while Wahlberg pushed for speed, volume, and raw bite. It got personal, too. Balancing invincible at the same time. Wahlberg refused to change his shaggy haircut. When pressed, he shot back. I don't give a fuck. Here's the twist. The performance born from all that friction earned Wahlberg his only Academy Award nomination. Scorsese was reportedly surprised that Wahlberg's turn, not DiCaprio's or Damon's, landed the Oscar nod. Even so, the scars remained. When Scorsese moved on to Shutter Island and The Wolf of Wall Street, Wahlberg's name wasn't in the mix. He later told students at NYU, "Sometimes an actor gives you exactly what audiences want rather than what the character needs." A line many took as a veiled reference to Wahlberg. For his part, Wahlberg admitted, "Marty and I were constantly in this struggle. I had problems with Marty while still calling him a master and even floating ideas for a Departed sequel with himself front and center." Did they make peace? Not really. They were professional, never traded public insults. But they never reunited. The result is a paradox. A fierce battle that produced one of Wahlberg's most memorable turns and guaranteed they'd never do it again. James Caan. Scorsese believes filmmaking is a symphony of precision. Every beat, every pause, every movement choreographed toward a single vision. He craves immersion, not chaos. James Caan, fresh from his star-making run as Sonny Corleone in The Godfather, EJOTR, brought a wild magnetic energy that could ignite a room. It was exactly what Scorsese thought he needed for a raw New York story he was shaping in the mid-1970s. There was something dangerous about Jimmy, Scorsese later admitted. He had this authenticity I wanted, but he also had ideas about the character that completely contradicted my vision. Early rehearsals made the divide obvious. Caan started tossing out scripted lines and writing his own on the spot. To Scorsese, that wasn't collaboration, it was mutiny. Voices rose. Pages flew. What Caan saw as creative freedom, Scorsese saw as tearing up the blueprint. He wanted improvisation, but only his kind of improvisation. Caan later said that line defined the split. Scorsese embraces spontaneity only when it serves the plan he's drafted down to the frame. Caan wanted the freedom to discover it in the moment. Within weeks, the project fell apart. Publicly, it was creative differences. Privately, Scorsese called Caan impossible. Each man went on to towering work. Caan with Thief and Misery. Scorsese with Taxi Driver and Raging Bull. But they never tried again. It wasn't ego as much as philosophy. Scorsese prizes control. Caan fought for chaos. The collaboration that might have been legendary never reached the screen. Through Julia Roberts for Scorsese period, films aren't costumes and pretty sets. They're lived-in worlds down to the breath under a corset. Julia Roberts, America's early 1990s box office queen, seemed like a dream fit when her name surfaced for Countess Ellen Olen's In the Age of Innocence, 1993. Her luminous presence paired with Scorsese's historical rigor. On paper, perfect. Even in early meetings though, Scorsese sensed trouble. There was a contemporary sensibility I couldn't train out of her. He later said, the break came, not on set, but during fittings. Roberts questioned why she needed to endure the stiff, restrictive corsetry during rehearsals. To her, it felt unnecessary. To him, it was essential. How else to embody the physical repression that shapes the characters? Emotional life. Roberts later alluded to a director clearly scores in a round. He He wanted me to literally not breathe properly to understand the character. Method directing, I guess you'd call it. For Scorsese, that wasn't method. That was realism. Another tense exchange over Elon's cultural background and emotional detachment sealed it. Days later, Roberts withdrew. He cast Michelle Pfeiffer instead, whose performance preserved the classical restraint he demanded. Neither has badmouthed the other. Scorsese explained in period pieces, "I need actors who can disappear into another time, not ones who make other times feel like our own." Roberts has been gracious. If faintly exasperated, they never work together again. For Winona Ryder, if Scorsese won't compromise on authenticity, Winona Ryder discovered how far that goes on The Age of Innocence, 1993. As May Land, the seemingly innocent bride whose quiet choices steer the film's emotional machinery. Ryder looked ideal, ethereal, delicate, but Scorsese wanted something sharper under the lace. Calculation, control, and a soft-spoken ruthlessness. Winona had this luminescent quality that worked beautifully on camera. Scorsese later said, "But she fought me on May's internal calculation." Her awareness of what she was doing to Newland and the Countess. The tension boiled over during the van der Luydens' engagement party sequence. Production reportedly paused for nearly 6 hours while Scorsese kept chiseling toward one elusive note, the look of innocence laying a veil over quiet power script. Supervisor Martha Pinson remembered the mood. He wanted this perfect synthesis of Victorian propriety masking ruthless emotional warfare when wanted to humanize May. Production designer Dante Ferretti recalled long whispered adjustments. 20-30 minutes between takes before the camera rolled again. In the third act, when May reveals her pregnancy, Scorsese asked for not softness, but understated triumph. Ryder delivered. The work earned her an Academy Award nomination, but the toll was visible. She looked spent during press, and was notably absent from the commentary track and much of the film's promotion. Asked years later whether he'd work with her again, Scorsese replied, "Winona is brilliant at certain qualities. Maywell required something else entirely." Ryder has never slammed him, but has hinted at directors who confuse suffering with depth. They've never reunited. The result, art on the screen, trust in pieces. 5. Jim Carrey. Scorsese conducts films like a maestro. Every note lands where he places it. Jim Carrey, by contrast, is a lightning strike. Spontaneous, explosive, unpredictable. He's proven he can fuse comedy and drama. The Truman Show, Man on the Moon, but his process is freedom, not fences. In 1999, they collided briefly over a long Justice dating Howard Hughes biopic that would eventually become The Aviator. At that stage, Scorsese envisioned a darker psychological portrait of Hughes's decline. "Jim has this manic energy that could capture Hughes's brilliant eccentricity," he said at the time, but it needed to be channeled very specifically. During a character workshop in New York, Carrey arrived with a trunk full of transformations and improvisations for different eras of Hughes' life. At first, dazzling, then the temperature in the room began to drop. When the talk turned to dialogue, Carrey wanted to explore, rewriting lines, finding truth in the moment. Scorsese wanted precision, every word, every pause. Improvisation in his world is a tool, not the engine. There are two kinds of brilliance in acting. Scorsese reportedly told producer Barbara DeFina afterward, "Jim's is undeniable, but it's not compatible with my process." Carrey, ever gracious, later said, "Sometimes the greatest gift is a door that remains closed." Scorsese reconceived The Aviator with Leonardo DiCaprio, who gave him the discipline and control he wanted. Respect remains on both sides, but distance, too. It wasn't ego, it was two different operating systems. Leg, Dustin Hoffman. In the early 1970s, long before he became an American cinema titan, Scorsese set his sights on one of the era's hottest actors, Dustin Hoffman. Fresh off The Graduate and Midnight Cowboy, Hoffman personified alienation and restless youth, the very qualities Scorsese wanted for a grim new project called Taxi Driver. Here's the shocker. Scorsese's first choice for Travis Bickle wasn't Robert De Niro, it was Hoffman. The meeting is Hollywood lore. "I remember meeting Martin Scorsese," Hoffman recalled.